They do not offer you a choice. That is the first thing you must understand. In the world of East Asian shamanism, from the frozen tundras of Siberia to the rolling steppe of Mongolia and the bustling villages of Korea, the spirits make a demand, and their demands are exacting, uncompromising. This is not a romantic calling. It is a violent reordering of a life. If you imagine stepping into it as an adventure, you will quickly learn that most people do not survive the rules laid down by those who dwell beyond the scene. Begin with the idea of selection. Across these traditions, shamans are not merely trained, they are chosen by the numinous. The selection may be hereditary, but more often it manifests as illness. In Korea, they call it shinbyeong, spirit sickness, a condition that can strike without warning: relentless fever, vomiting, hallucinations, loss of appetite, crippling despair, and, paradoxically, an uncontrollable urge to dance or sing to invisible guests. In Siberia and Mongolia, similar symptoms are recorded: convulsions, visions of animals and sky beings, voices that speak in foreign timbres. These are not poetic metaphors for a dramatic life change. They are physiological and psychological wreckage, a body unmade by forces beyond consent. The rules governing a chosen person's life become immediately hyper-specific. Taboo is not merely superstition here, it is survival. Once marked, you must abstain from foods and behaviors that were innocuous before. In some Korean traditions, the newly afflicted must avoid certain meats or strong-flavored foods that might offend the spirit. In Siberian and Mongolian contexts, the spirit's patron animal or element dictates prohibitions. Do not cut your hair if the spirit favors you with horse sense. Do not enter particular rivers if a water being claims you. Breaking these prohibitions invites a worsening of the sickness, flares of fever, violent convulsions, even permanent loss of speech or movement. Taboo functions like a contract written in the body. To violate it is to breach flesh. The rituals meant to cure and bind you are relentless and precise. A Korean mudang's initiation often requires the patient to undergo weeks of ritualized suffering, beating, fasting, and being placed on a funeral bier while the community chants, simulating death and resurrection. In Siberia, the aspirant may be forced to endure exposure, to sleep on the earth of sacred sites, to drink ashy brews that induce purging, or to sit through trance nights until the spirits fully reveal themselves. Mongolian shamans may demand isolation in cold, narrow defiles, a test of endurance to see if the spirit will endure with you. These rites are not therapeutic in the modern sense, they are crucibles. Many do not emerge whole. Attempting to refuse the call is itself dangerous in ways that seem almost juridical. There is consequence, precedent, communal enforcement. A person who resists the rite, who seeks medical intervention, or who falls back into ordinary life will often suffer escalations. During shinbyeong, refusal commonly brings prolonged psychosis, social ostracism, and economic ruin. Families that ignore the signs may endure misfortune interpreted as spiritual retribution, livestock failing, crop blight, storms attributed to an angry, neglected spirit. In harsher climates, refusal is literally fatal. Untreated spirit sickness can develop into conditions that modern medicine would describe as severe infection, malnutrition, or untreated psychiatric disorder. But within the cultural logic, it is the spirit strangling its would-be servant. There is also the terrifying demand of moral and emotional transformation. A shaman must embody otherness, speak with voices that are not theirs, eat offerings meant for invisible masters, accept sexual or social taboos that isolate them from ordinary relations. In Korea, a mudang may be required to perform love rituals or curse rituals that carry heavy personal cost. In the steppe and tundra, the shaman becomes intermediary for weather and hunting, responsible for the life of a community's herds. Failure here is not merely personal shame. It can mean famine. And the shaman who cannot control the spirits is punished by them and by the people who must rely on them. Consider the elementals themselves. Fire spirits demand offerings at the exact moment, or your hearth will flare into destructive blaze. Water deities expect precise gestures. A careless gesture and someone drowns. Mountain spirits jealously guard their slopes. Disrespect and storms follow. The specificity of these taboos, what you can eat, where you can step, how you must sleep and speak, compounds into a life where a single misstep can trigger catastrophe. For many, the time between being called and meeting that consequence is measured in days. So why would you not survive these rules? Because survival here is not merely biological endurance. It is compliance with a foreign jurisprudence inscribed into both body and community. The sickness strips you of choice. The taboos constrict every action. The rituals demand suffering. Refusal invites ruin. For those who become true shamans, the reward is service, power, and symbolic resurrection. But for most who are struck by the spirits and cannot or will not bend, the path ends in mental disintegration, social death, or literal demise. The spirits do not bargain. They do not negotiate. In these traditions, to be selected is to be sentenced to a life written by other wills, a life many cannot pay.